Welcome to the Market It with the ATMA Podcast, where we give you the tips, tools, and strategies you need to be successful. My name is Bryan, and I'll be your host today. And today we have a very special guest joining us, and her name is Samantha Ybarra, and she is the founder and lead attorney at Ybarra Law Firm, a Texas-based practice serving both the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the Rio Grande Valley. As a first-generation college graduate and attorney, Samantha built her firm with a mission to provide compassionate, accessible legal representation, especially for those underserved in the Spanish-speaking communities. Her firm specializes in personal injury cases, including car accidents, 18-wheeler accidents, wrongful death, and catastrophic injuries. Known for her client-first approach, clear communication, and consistent five-star experiences, Samantha has quickly built a strong reputation in her community and has been recognized as a super lawyer rising star. Samantha, welcome to the show. But before we get to the show, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsors. Today's episode is sponsored by NuvoDesk Co-working, the home of Arlington's most accessible production-ready podcast studio. Whether you're launching your first show or leveling up your content game, NuvoDesk gives you a professional studio environment where you can walk in, hit record, and create. But NuvoDesk is more than just a podcast room. It's a fully equipped business hub with private offices, conference rooms, and workshop and event spaces designed to help you host, collaborate, and grow. If you're ready to elevate your brand, your business, or your voice, book your next recording or your next tour at nuvodesk.com. Create here, work here, build here. Today's episode is brought to you by Nuvio, the all-in-one business platform designed to help you build, manage, and scale with confidence. With Nuvio, you can build your own website in minutes, manage all of your leads and customers through a powerful CRM, and if you're in the restaurant industry, you can run your entire operations using Nuvio's modern point-of-sale system. Whether you're a startup, a service provider, or a full-scale restaurant, Nuvio gives you everything you need in one place. Simple, connected, and built to grow with you. Discover why entrepreneurs are switching to Nuvio. Visit Nuvio.com and run your entire business on one platform. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Market It with ATMA podcast. And like I said, we have a special guest, Samantha Ybarra with the Ybarra Law Firm here with us. And this podcast is about how to build, launch, grow, and scale. And what does that look like for different industries, different businesses, different organizations? And we have Samantha who's going to talk about her story. And Samantha, say hello to everybody and just
Hi.
So Samantha, you're a little bit different than our guest before us. Mm-hmm. You're a customer of ours.
Yes, I am.
And we've seen you grow, mm-hmm. right? We've seen things happening in your business. Mm-hmm. But we want to talk about the root of how you got started, right? So let's talk about, you're the first generational in your family to go to college. Mm-hmm. And then not only that, you started your own law firm. So talk to me about that journey. What did that look like?
Oof. So, I didn't have a roadmap because my parents didn't go to college. They don't have their own businesses. So it's very much learn as you go type of thing. I'm lucky to have a husband that has a background in business. So that's been very helpful for us. But yeah, it's been a journey, but one I don't take for granted. And it's been really... it's been wonderful to see it grow from where I was to where I am today.
Yeah. Where'd you go to college?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. Go Aggies, right?
Yep.
And then Gig'em. I wouldn't know about that. I'm not about that college culture.
Oh, yeah. My husband went to UT, so horns down.
Oh, that's interesting. So you guys are like opponents.
We are.
Oh, so how does
Once a year.
Once a year?
Now, because A&M and UT weren't playing each other for like the longest time, but this past year we did play each other, and we lost, but it's fine.
Some spouse rivalry right there. Mm-hmm. All right.
Keep the spark alive.
Yeah. So tell me, like you obviously went to college and you started a business. Like, what made you want to start your own firm?
I kind of always thought I would start my own law firm, but mainly because I always thought I would go back to the Rio Grande Valley where I'm from. And basically everyone there does have their own law firm. They all kind of work for themselves. For the most part, there are firms, right? But I kind of always thought I would do that. And then life took a different turn for me. I didn't end up going back to the Rio Grande Valley, and I ended up here in DFW because I went to law school in Houston.
Okay.
Ended up here in DFW, worked for firms because that was kind of easier to do in a big metroplex like DFW. Worked for big firms and then quickly realized that was not the way that I wanted to handle cases. And that wasn't that just wasn't the legal representation that I wanted to give to clients, because there was a lot lacking.
Yeah. Well, when you start to see things you don't like, it's eventually you're like, hey, you're a problem solver, right? You like to solve problems. And you said recently, like, there's a big gap, especially with Spanish speaking market. Like, that was something that was a part of your route. You're like, hey, I want to serve the Spanish speaking community. So what did you see that made you say, something has to change, I've got to step in?
So, I mean, I come from a predominantly Hispanic community, right? The Rio Grande Valley is, everyone there is Hispanic for the most part. So that is my community. So that's always been at, the top of my mind when it's kind of like, who do you want to represent? What do you have? Who are you looking to help? That's always been top of my mind, is a Hispanic community. Because that's who raised me. That's where I come from. But in terms of, what I saw and what needed fixing, it was working for big law firms. There was such a disconnect in the communication with the clients. You have these associate attorneys fresh out of law school sometimes, like myself at the time, and we're taking on 200, 300 cases. And that's each. It's not the firm as a whole. It's each attorney. There's really no time to talk to the clients. And the firm that I was working at, it wasn't built for us to communicate with the clients anyway. We had 2 case managers. One was client communication and the other was for drafting, or to assist in drafting. So basically it was built so the only time that I would speak to a client was at the courthouse. But at that point, especially in personal injury, sometimes you don't even get to that point. A lot of the times you don't get to that point. And I'm meeting them and at that point, I'm meeting them for the first time when I'm giving them a check, but they don't even know who I am. I know their case, but they don't know me. And that disconnect is, it's
kind of awkward.
Yeah. It's not just awkward. It's also, these clients are so upset. They're so like, who are you? And with good reason, but the firm just wasn't built that way.
Yeah. So you started without client base, like you just went from big law firm to, hey, I'm going to start fresh with no clients, no brand recognition. And obviously, it's so funny when I talk about this portion of this with other entrepreneurs and business owners is this misconception that, it's going to be easy. There's a lot of challenges that happen when you start a business and organization. And I like to be as transparent as possible when I am working with startups. I'm saying, hey, this is going to be tough, right? So what challenges did you have to overcome when starting fresh, no clients?
Oof. So many challenges. So many challenges. There's not even just like a few at the top of my mind. Everything was a challenge basically because, the legal part was the easy part because I know that. I knew that. I know that. I knew I could get it done. It was, okay, I'm here. I'm starting my own law firm. But where do we go from here? I open up my LLC, get an office, but now how do I get clients through the door? That was probably the biggest challenge at first, is how do we get clients to the door? How do I let them know that I'm here to help. I'm going to do this in a different way, in a better way that's more client focused. But how am I going to push that out to people?
Yeah.
Especially because these large firms have millions of dollars to spend in marketing every month. Yeah. I didn't have that. We're starting fresh. So how do you compete?
Yeah, you got to get creative, right? You got to get very strategic. It's funny because when most people, when they see, and I've said this story a few times on a different types of interviews, but the reality of starting a business is starting from scratch, right? I remember Ruben and I, and Ruben, right? Ruben, when we started the company, it was both of us, and we started in our bedroom with a laptop and a desktop, right? And that's it. That's all we had to our names. We could barely afford to pay our bills. I only had a few cash reserve left to be able to pay my car note. Ruben was, quickly running out. Like, we had to quickly try to get customers, and that financial stress is pretty daunting. It's pretty daunting, and so. Yeah, I completely understand when businesses is just like the first phase of it.
Yeah.
It's like, I really want you to understand that what you're getting yourself into first, but number two is that everything that I'm saying is wisdom, right? And so sometimes when I tell customers like, hey, you have to have funds. You have to fund the client, funnel, because otherwise, where we're going to be at. I mean,
right. I mean, and luckily for us, I had it a little bit easier in the sense of financial relief, because when I went off on my own and opened up my own law firm, luckily we didn't have to take out any loans or anything like that, like most people do to get the firm started. But my husband is an engineer and he has his own salary. So we're able to live off of that while we grow the firm. And we've been blessed enough that we haven't had, even to this day, haven't had to take out loans or anything to keep the firm going, because now it's kind of just sufficient. But to get started, we had that, that safety net is his salary.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough that my husband is like kind of, he's the kind of husband's like, go chase your dreams. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. And honestly, that's the best advice you can give entrepreneurs is be like, hey, there's got to be income coming in somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere, but you got to be smart and wise about it. That's one of the biggest mistakes that business owners make, right? Is cash flow. And how did you go from, now we go into the launch phase, right? You built the practice, you build a foundation, who you are, your brand. But now we're going to talk about execution and building trust and launching into the market. So how did you go from vision to reality? What were the first steps of building Ybarra Law Firm?
I mean, the first big step that we had to take was obviously the whole LLC, right? Going and looking for office space, something that we could afford, because again, we're living off my husband's salary, but still it's not like, it's not like we're making $1 million a year and we're just able to throw a whole bunch of money into the firm. But those were like the initial small steps, but still big steps. The biggest thing after that was marketing. How do we find marketing? How do you find the right marketing? Because when you're a new business and you're looking for marketing, I mean, you don't know anything about marketing when you're starting a business. When you're working for someone else, they handle all of that.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's up to you to figure it out. And you're like, okay, well, a lot of people tell you try organic leads on TikTok or Instagram nowadays, Facebook, which is great, but it takes time to build that. And when you're opening up your doors and you need to make money now for the firm to keep it going, you don't have that kind of time.
Right.
And you don't know what you're doing either. You're like, what is a brand? What is awareness? What am I trying to tell people? What's my story? And you go and you look for all these marketing agencies, and there's so many that pop up, and everyone promises you everything. So that was probably the biggest struggle at first.
Except me. I don't promise.
Yeah, Bryan's actually very honest.
I am very blunt and honest. Okay. I always tell people, I do workshops all the time, and you've been to some of those workshops. So it's like, all right, I have a disclaimer most of my workshops, because I'm like, guys, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. What's funny about this, and this just came up in my mind right now. Can you guess one of my favorite shows? No. This is ironic. One of my favorite shows is Suits.
Oh my God, I love Suits. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. But don't think that if you love Suits, you'll be good for law school.
Yeah,
That's not correct.
No, but it's funny though, because they were asking me about, our branding in one of my other interviews. And I said, Harvey Specter in the first episode, I believe, either the first or second episode, he's a closer, right? He's the best closer. But he goes up to somebody, one of his prospects. He specifically wants to hire Harvey Specter, and he hands him over this file. He's like, "Here you go." And the client's like, "This isn't what I asked for." And he's like, "Yeah, but that's the best deal you're gonna get, and here's why you're gonna take the deal. Because I'm not here to earn your business. I'm here to keep it." So it's like about loyalty, right? Like his big thing is about loyalty, and the show's about loyalty. And I think that's struck with me too. Is like, that's the kind of business we want, and I'm pretty sure you want, right? Is honesty, transparency. You're not going to tell people what they want to hear. You're going to tell them what they need to hear, because you're in there for their best interest, right? And so you let's go back into which is funny because into the next question is, in a trust-based industry like law, how did you get people to believe in you in the early stages?
Honestly, it was just people giving us a chance. We're not at that point. We weren't on the radio. We're not on TV. We're not on every billboard down the highway. So they're like, "Who are you?" Maybe they heard of me from other clients that I had helped before. And those were kind of the first few clients we started getting. And it was just, they trusted me. And so I made sure that I did a really good job for them, to the best of my ability, of course, because like you said, we can't promise our clients anything. We get a case sometimes, and sometimes it's like, okay, this is a slam dunk, no worries. Like I know what I can do for you. Right. And sometimes we get cases, and when the facts start coming up, because the law is based on facts and what we can prove. And sometimes as we get those things, we're like, oh, like this isn't as definitive as we thought. We don't really know where this is going to go. We can promise that we're going to do our best, but we don't know how this is going to work out. And like you said, it's so important to be honest with the clients and tell them, because that builds trust. Like, hey, I don't know which route this is going to go, but I can promise that I'm going to guide you along the way. Right.
Yeah. I think that everybody looks for trust. The problem, though, is that we live in a society that doesn't trust too early and doesn't do they don't qualify. They just believe everything they hear, and they want something instant. And so, and this is coming from a digital marketer person, right? Like my job is to do that, is to get them as trusty as quickly as possible. But you want to do it in an authentic way, right? I always tell people, be careful what you start doing on social media and branding, because they always say good publicity is great publicity. And I'm like, any publicity is great publicity. And I'm like, that's not true, right? You could rub people the wrong way, right? And not every client is a good client, right?
No, they're not. And you need to know how to deal with that when those come, because they do come.
Yeah.
That's been a little bit of a challenge too, is kind of like, okay, because I am the face of my firm, when I do get a difficult client, learning how to deal with a difficult client is very interesting, because you want to put your foot down, but at the same time, you don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
And sometimes, depending on how difficult the client is, that's such a thin line. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, they can say things to you that really get under your skin, and that you're a person, you're a human being. At the end of the day, you want to react.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Yeah.
You have to remain respectful, calm, but still with authority. Like, hey, you can't talk to me like that.
Yeah. I think it's funny too, is because a lot of it too is expectations and positioning, right? I think those go in hand to hand when launching your brand, because you're marketing certain product or service. You're also marketing your brand. So as far as the product and service, you want to set expectations early on so you can avoid those things.
Right.
But positioning and branding is, who are you dealing with, right? Are you going to deal with somebody that is a yes man or a yes ma'am, right? Or are you dealing with somebody who's going to be honest, transparent? And sometimes that honesty is going to hurt your feelings, right? We interviewed former Mayor Jeff Williams in this season, and he had to say no to Jerry Jones himself, right? And so saying no isn't always the easiest thing, but sometimes it's the best thing, right? And you'll know if that customer or client is a good client or understanding if they receive that, they process it, they don't react. Because if they react, then unfortunately it's not going to be a good customer for you, right? But if they respond and saying, okay, let's go for solutions. Let's take a look at the pros, the cons, and do solutions, and not always everything is a problem, right?
Right.
And so just some thoughts. So how important were relationships and community presence in establishing your brand?
Very important. They're everything, even now. And I think, the firm's been open for about 3 years now. And they're more important now than ever, because in the beginning you're kind of learning how to establish these relationships. What kind of relationships do I need to establish? Again, what is my branding? What am I trying to make people, what do I want them to know about me and my brand? And now that you've you've gone through that journey and you know who you are, you know what your branding is, you know what you want to tell people. Now it's like, okay, now let me go build those relationships. And I mean, it's everything. We try to be out in the community quite often, because, you know, you're not going to build that trust with clients or with people just on TV, on the radio, on a billboard. They need to see you in person. They need to know that you're a person that's there and that's willing to help.
Yeah.
And again, the Hispanic community has always been at the forefront for me. And for me, it's just about how can I assist? How can I be there for my community? I don't just want their business, but how can I help? You know, how can I get your business and then in return give back to you as well?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because you're in third year and you're growing. You know, I remember when you came to us and you were like, I don't have any clients. And now you're like, I mean, what happened in the past few years? You're like, sometimes I'll call you and be like,
they're like, I can't right now.
Too many consultations.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's difficult too, right? Because I mean, so much of our firm has been built around being client focused and being very communicative with our clients. And as we grow, I don't want to lose that. But it does take a little bit more of a toll on me because now I have more clients that need to hear from me, that want to hear from me, as they should, and I want to be there for them, but I'm getting pulled in so many different directions, you know?
Yeah. So as you grow, you know, what's your plan as far as, you know, systems in place and processes in place to help you with these client communications and case managements?
I mean, as we grow, we're going to have, more case managers to handle, you know, the everyday tasks, because at a point I was doing everything. I was doing admin, I was answering phone calls, I was meeting with clients, I was doing consultations, I was, you know, getting a new personal injury client, opening the claim by myself and being on the phone with insurance for like an hour, and then all while my phone's ringing because I've got like 2 other clients that have questions. Now it's just kind of delegating more to my staff. That way I can be available for client questions, for client meetings, and for community outreach too, because that also takes up a lot of time. Yeah. I'm happy to do it. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to give back as much as I can, but that requires me being there in person.
So it's always interesting to ask an entrepreneur and a business owner who is in control and wants to be in control of everything, and learning how to delegate.
Oh, that's hard. That's very hard. So I'm a control freak when it comes to the firm because it's my name, it's my, you know, it's my face, and I want people to know that we are different, and I don't want it to just be words. I want it to be actions. I want them to see that. So, and you know, something I've learned being in the legal field is not everyone has that mindset.
Yes.
Some people just care. I mean, and it's sad to say, but some people just care about the money.
Right.
It's just about the money. And for me, that's not the case. It's about the clients. It's about the care that I can give them. It's about the knowledge that I can give them more than anything, right? Because I mean, care is when you're in an accident or something happens to you, we're going to send you to our medical providers that, you know, can work with you and stuff like that. But it's the knowledge that you'll gain coming to us, because we're going to explain everything to you. We're going to explain every outcome for you. We're going to explain every avenue to, you know, the outcome that we're trying to get to you. It's not going to just be, hey, sign up, go to treatment. I'm not going to explain anything to you. You're not going to know, you know, anything about your case. You're not going to know where we go from here. You're not going to know what a demand is. You're not going to know, you know, we guide our clients through all of it, and I don't ever want to lose that, and I want them to know that. Yeah.
Well, you're doing great, and you're, you know, obviously you are, because you're growing, and people are starting to inquire, and you know, if you weren't doing great, you'd be busy, but not the good busy, right? Yeah. So let's go into growing, right? How has your definition of success evolved from just building the firm, focusing on impact, and now focus on impact and sustainability?
So, I mean, success is just it's different for me every day. It's different for me every day. It's different for me every week, you know, small wins here, small wins there. But overall success, I mean, in the beginning, it was just kind of like getting my first client would be success to me.
Yeah.
You know, and then it was like closing my first case. And then once we started getting clients to the door, it was like, okay, if I can get 3 cases a month, that's success. And then once that started happening, okay, if I can get 5 clients a month, that's success. Now that we're pretty steady with clients, success is really, I think for me right now, success is my clients having something good to say about their experience with us. Mm-hmm. That's probably what I would define it as. I don't want them to leave us and be like, oh, well, I'll never use her again, or have anything negative to say. I want them to, even if they don't get the outcome that they wanted because, you know, the facts just weren't on their side, I want them to still have good things to say about us and the way that we guided them through their case.
It's so funny you say that because our mentor says it all the time. He says, you shouldn't be scared about gaining customers. You see, if you can't get the customers, you shouldn't be worried. Mm-hmm. What's the worst that can happen? You shut it down and move on, get a job. But when you have customers, now you have to keep them. And now you have to grow those relationships. Mm-hmm. And right, you have a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, he's like, I never fear getting clients. What I fear is, how do I keep them? Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's 100% accurate. I mean, you know, success is just, it's so different day by day, but overall that's the biggest success for us is our clients having a good experience with us. But I mean, it changes day by day. I mean, we're on the radio now. We're on the radio, and what's it called? When I heard it for the first time, I cried because I was like, that felt like success to me that day, you know, because I was just like, wow, I'm like this little girl from the Rio Grande Valley, from the 956. Like most people don't leave the valley, and if they do, they always just go back. And there's nothing wrong with that, but life just had a different turn for me. And it's just so crazy because, you know, my parents didn't go to college. I had to learn a lot of these things on my own. I had to learn how to apply to college on my own. I had to learn how to do FAFSA on my own, all that stuff. And now to hear myself on the radio with all these huge law firms here that aren't, and, you know, and most law firms on the radio, they're not Hispanic. They're not from the community. You know, they're trying to reach our community, but they're not from the community. Yeah, they don't understand the demographic. Yeah, they don't understand it. It's just, and I don't want to speak for every law firm, but for a lot of them, it's like, well, it's a case, it's a client. Yeah. But they're not from it. They can't fully understand it. You know, I come from the Rio Grande Valley again, where everyone's mainly Hispanic. A lot of people don't go to college. My parents didn't go to college, so to like have those little wins, it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny because you said you're about to be on the opposite spectrum because you are scaling and you are going to be targeting different geographic areas. You're going to be opening law firms in different areas of the United States now. So what does that look like?
Wow. A lot of time. It's very tiring. Yeah, we're getting ready to open up an office in a different state, getting licensed in different states. And it's kind of crazy because I never thought, I mean, 3 years ago, I was just trying to get this office off the ground. You know, I was just trying to be like, oh my God, if one person believes in me. And now it's people from different states that believe in me. And I never thought that would be possible. I mean, it's crazy. It's truly just, it's a surreal feeling. I mean, growing up, and I attribute all of my success to my parents, right? Because growing up, they were always like, you can do anything, you can do anything, you can do everything. You can be the president of the United States if you want to be. And they were just such good parents. And even though they didn't have the experience in what I was aiming to do, they were still so supportive. So I owe everything to them, but when you're, you know, to be told one thing and then to see yourself doing it, it's so crazy. Yeah. And like I'll call my mom crying and I'm like, oh my God, like I got licensed here. Or, you know, the radio when we got on La Grande and I was like, Mom, like, oh my God, I was recording it and I was sending it to her because, you know, they don't get those radio stations down there. And it's just so surreal. Like, she was crying, I was crying, because it's just crazy that a girl from the 956 who didn't have parents to really guide her in that way, because they didn't know, is doing all these things now.
Yeah. So you're now in the scale phase. You're growing. It's amazing. So what advice would you give to entrepreneurs, people who are trying to start their own business, people that are in business, maybe they've been in business, but they're trying to grow their business? What kind of advice would you give them?
Oh, there's so much advice to give, but I think the first thing, really, because I truly don't think your business grows unless you have this, is knowing why you're doing it. What's your reason? Because if it's just, again, like we talked about earlier, if it's just money, I don't believe it will come. You know what I mean? Like, I believe in being a good person, having a really good grounded reason for why you're doing what you're doing. And then I think from there, God will kind of take care of the rest of it. You know what I mean? But I really think that you need to know why you're doing this. And for me, it needs to be bigger than yourself sometimes. I know some people, and that's great for them. I wish I could say that, right? They're like, oh, I want to do this for me, and that's enough. That's great. For me, I want to do this for my community because they're underrepresented. I want to do it for my family because I owe everything to them. So I think that's really the biggest thing, because there's going to be hard times. There's going to be lulls. There's going to be, in entrepreneurship, there's so many highs and lows, and, and when you're at a low, it's really hard to see the high, you know? Yeah. Like, you're like, I'm stuck here. This is it. So you have to have something that drives you through it.
So funny, because I've gone through so many lows, lots of lows. People only see the highs. Yeah. They only see the highs on social media. They only see the success stories. They're like, oh my gosh, you made it. Just now, like, we're PLC members at the Chamber of Commerce in Arlington, and everybody's like, I remember when you were little. And I was just like, bro, I'm still little, right? Like, I'm still growing. I'm still getting better. But the funny thing about it is that during those low times, faith, right? Our priorities here as a company is faith, people, process, results. But the faith part, there was a customer came in, and he was on the fence about doing business with us. And sometimes I have on my screen, because I go through a lot of stress. A lot of people don't realize the amount of stress I go through because I hold myself so well in public, right? The only person that really knows my stress is my wife. When I get home and I'm like super drained, but it's so funny because on my computer it says, let go, let God. Right. And I remember when we were visiting a doctor, and he had that, we had so much anxiety, and he had that phrase on his door, let go, let God. And that stuck with me. I was just like, sometimes you got to go back to what, like you said, what made you start this? Your priorities, faith, people, process, results. So
it has to be for a good reason. Again, money isn't the reason. It's not gonna drive you when you need that extra push. It's not, because when it's not coming in, now you're upset, and what's gonna get you through that?
Exactly. What's gonna get through that is that promise you made me that we're gonna go to Disney World. And so got that on the podcast now. All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. Thank you, Samantha, for coming on the show. We appreciate you, and hope you listening on this podcast, you got a little bit of some advice and some real world stories, of the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. We've interviewed a lot of executives, very tiered executives, and now we have Samantha, who's only third year, but she's growing, she's scaling, and we love it. And so that's what this podcast is about. It's about build, launch, grow, scale. We thank you guys for listening to the Market It with ATMA podcast, and we will see you next time.